Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to yet another episode of Masti, Music, and More at the same place where we meet every alternate Saturday to evoke the memories of the days gone by, because sometimes a short walk down memory lane is all it takes to appreciate where we are today. चलिए ना जुड़ जाते हैं with the place where we had our first crush, perhaps our first heartbreaks, and yet always the place of our first love, Jamshedpur. I, Indrani Bhattacharya, proudly present the fourth episode of Jampot Adda with a few near and dear ones who make us proud of the place we call our first home. Our first guest for the evening is, of course, Sumit Dutta Chowdhury, more commonly known as Buroda to most of us. Now, he is a man who has done it all. Sumit is the founder of several high-tech companies, including Sesovera and Gia Smart Cities. He is a global thought leader and CXO in the fields of smart cities, telecom, information analytics, and an urban design enthusiast. His prior roles include being a president of Reliance Jio, VP of IBM, CIO of Reliance Communications, and managing partner of KPMG. He is the visiting faculty of Carnegie Mellon University, USA. He is also an advisor of the ARC, or Broadcast Audience Research Council, for the last 5 years. Sumit is a true Bull Loyolian and a graduate of IIT Kanpur, followed by MS and PhD from the Carnegie Mellon University. He is the author of a best-selling career management book, Rules of the Game, published by Bloomsbury, India, that empowers readers to enhance productivity and fast-track their careers. Sumit is an avid painter, having had international exhibitions of his paintings. He is also a trained musician. He is an active marathon runner and cyclist, having several full marathons and long-distance cycling trips across the world. His latest passion is an artisanal bakery, the dough and batter, that he is running with his daughter, catering to high-end exotic breads from across the world. Welcome on board, Shumita. Talking to this youth icon we lovingly call Buroda is none other than another one of our own,
Somshukla Dutta.
Take it away, Shomji.
Hi, Sumit. Am I audible?
You are
Good
absolutely
evening.
audible.
Very good to see you today. And
Absolutely
welcome to the Jampot Adda.
Thank you. Looking forward to speaking to you and to the larger Jamshedpur community. It's amazing to get an opportunity to meet everybody and to talk to everybody. So, thank you.
Absolutely. This is such a wonderful initiative. So welcome once again, Sumit, Dr. Sumit Dutta Chowdhury. He's a very own Jamshedpur born and raised boy, more a Loyola boy. And Sumit is a multitasker. He is multifaceted, and he wears many hats, and he wears them very, very well. So Sumit, welcome once again. And since this conversation actually takes you back to where we were raised and born, our lovely Jamshedpur city. So let's go back there and reminisce a little bit about the lovely time we spent there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you come from a family which was like steeped in cultural activities and a gene pool of very, very talented people. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about how you grew up in this really exciting cultural hub?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit about my parents. I think that many people from Jamshedpur would know my father and my mother. My father was Shamul Dutta Chowdhury, and my mother was Deepa Chowdhury. For those of you who don't know, Shamul Chowdhury has been part of the Jamshedpur scene since 1960, and he pretty much had a lot. His entire contribution has been in the world of creating cultural opportunities for our children, for the children of the employees of telco, and almost everybody that I know of has been associated or touched by either one of them. So I actually inherited all the goodwill that they have created for themselves. And I get all the warmth across the world when people talk about Jamshedpur, and all our house, all the time we had musicians, we had artists, we had people coming over. I was learning, my sister was learning, my mother was teaching. Later on, both of us were teaching as well, both music and all the time we were filled with people with talent, and that motivates you in so many different ways. I was accompanying my sister as she went through her PhD in dance. I was the singer. I was just all of 13, 14 years old, and it was just amazing doing things like that, which was not possible anywhere else.
How lovely. I think your father also had, some kind of interaction with Tagore Society, and I think they're pioneering members of Robindra Shamshud, is it?
Yeah. So my father was one of the first few people who started Robindra Shamshud. And Rabindra Shamshud later on became the telco version of Tagore Society. He still thinks he's in Jamshedpur. He still thinks that he has responsibility towards that organization, and he still calls people up and discusses things as if it was yesterday. And it was his baby. It was his raison d'etre. It was the reason why he existed. Tagore Society. I never saw him at home. He was always there. I have no recollection of my interaction with my father, because my father was never there for us. He was there for Tagore Society. That's really? What, So I learned a lot from him, but not because he was there for me, but because I saw him do things for this society, with this, for other children, for other families. He was always out there. So that's been my source of inspiration.
But then, he obviously nurtured so much talent in, the colony, isn't it? So I think we should have a lot of gratitude for that. And also, there's this little anecdote that I remember the first time I met your sister, after I got married, and my husband was there with me, and he remembered an instance when Didi had taught dance to these GTs for wheels, and to teach men to dance, especially with two left feet, it must have been an arduous task, but I think they put on a pretty good performance. So that was something that I wanted to really, mention today, because these are these little anecdotes about Jamshedpur that you really can't ever forget.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's move on then to your schooling in Loyola. And do you remember although, our families knew each other, I didn't really know you too well till I met you in Loyola. And the first day I met you was at the school canteen.
That was Perry's canteen, I suppose, if you remember.
I can't recall the name now. Let's talk about some of your favorite memories in Loyola. And was it the only school that you went to, or did you have any other, schooling besides Loyola in Jamshedpur?
No, I am a born and brought up Loyolian, right from kindergarten all the way till 12th.
True blue Loyola boy.
True blue Loyola boy, and I believe I am who I am because I went to Loyola. We were the first batch that came in after Cambridge went away from the country. So the teachers were trained in Cambridge kind of teaching, but they were teaching in ICSE kind of curriculum. So we got the best of both the worlds. I remember every aspect of my bringing up there, my teachers, every one of them, right from Mrs. Narielwala, who taught us how to wear a tie. And every time I wear a tie today, believe me, I remember her, and I close my eyes and give her a little wish. There was a wholesome education that Loyola provided. Loyola taught us how to demonstrate our ideas through charts, through papers, through presentation to people, to telling what you do. And later on, when I'm doing my PhD, I have to present. And these small opportunities in our childhood prepared us for facing these larger challenges that come later on in life. The confidence that gets built up through these creative pursuits really helped me as an individual. we are still in touch with all our teachers. In fact, I don't know whether you remember Mrs. Ramalingam from Telco, who prepared us to go to
Yes.
Loyola.
Yes.
I became friends with her just a couple of months ago on Facebook.
Oh, that must be so nice to reconnect with your teachers. So, obviously, this leads us to the next question, which is that you were obviously one of the brightest, sparks in your batch, as you joined IIT Kanpur with a very good ranking in JEE. And so, was it always like academics first, and there was not much happening on the other front, like extracurricular activities growing up, or was it like equal importance to all areas, of academics and extracurricular activities? How was it for you?
So you mentioned it, that I was brought up in a house full of music and art and culture, right? So it was always a fairly balanced thing. In fact, I was never the brainy guy at all. I was never the topper in the class.
We have to believe that?
No. Yeah, I was in fact, I didn't even know what IIT was till in class 10th. When I looked at my 11th marks, there was no hope in hell that I would have gone through anywhere. Forget about IIT.
That's very difficult to believe coming from you.
And it was a Herculean task to get over all of that in 11th and 12th. I fondly remember Mr. Kesavan, very close to your place. He really coached us between 11th and 12th for physics and maths, and that gave us a huge upside, I would say. It propelled us quite forward at that time, and I'm still in touch with him and his children and everybody else.
So does he still teach?
No, he's in Coimbatore, and
okay, I see.
He's retired, but we are in touch.
But also, we didn't really have so many coaching classes in our days, and it was a lot of self-study, a lot of effort, and of course, there was guidance from parents and teachers, but definitely not the type of coaching that we see today.
Yeah, and my parents were anywhere close to anything to do with IIT or anything else. So I had to, all they did was to ensure that I worked hard. All they taught me was, there is no easy path, you have to work hard for it, so go ahead and do it.
Correct.
And
yes.
After that, it was all the hard work and the teachers who were helping along the way. But for me, it was always balance.
And I think
it was never one or
the
other.
Yeah. There's no substitute to hard work. Yeah. When you look back at your journey today, how did those formative years in Jamshedpur help you with going ahead in life? In Kanpur, you've stayed in the US, in Australia. So how did those years in Jamshedpur really shape you up and help you too?
So I have a funny anecdote to start that
Let's hear
answer.
That, yeah.
Actually, when I got through IIT and I knew I was going to Kanpur, I every day I used to practice keyboards for a month. Every day I used to practice music, and my parents used to say, "Are you going to do engineering or music?" But when I ended up in Kanpur, the fact that I had a large keyboard with me and I could play so many songs actually helped me not be ragged at all.
Okay, that's interesting.
I had no ragging because everybody would come and say, "Music bajao." So I used to bajao, and then they used to go away. There was no ragging. That was my ragging. So I became the cultural champion of the college as soon as I landed.
That's a smart move.
I can tell you, Jamshedpur prepared me to be, I was everything for music for 4 years. Anything music, English or Western, I was involved in it. So batches above me, batches below me knew me because of music and art. I designed every logo that was in every cultural festival. I used to design the logo, the paintings, the artwork that used to go behind it, the music that went. So all of it was, I became the cultural secretary of the hall in the second year. It definitely helped me in setting up myself as a cultural ambassador there almost of IIT Kanpur. With SPICMECE, I was heading SPICMECE in IIT Kanpur, and SPICMECE is all about Indian classical music.
Yes.
Met some amazing musicians along the whole spectrum of different kinds of music that is there in the country. And then this pickmaker helped me not just in IIT Kanpur, but also in Pittsburgh when I was doing my master's and my PhD in Carnegie Mellon.
Okay.
I was playing the tanpura with the topmost musicians in the world. When they came to the US, they needed musicians to play with them. They needed tanpura players, and I was one of the few people who could do it. And that was all because there I have played with Rajan Sajan Mishra, I have played with Pandit Jasraj, I have played with Hari Prasad Chaurasia, I have played with, you name it, and I have played tanpura with them, and I have sat down with them, I have taken care of them, and it is just an amazing experience to be with such people all the time.
Just hearing about it is giving me goosebumps, to sit with these stalwarts and to play with them.
The other thing that I did was in IIT, I became the musician, not singer. Though I learned singing in Jamshedpur, I did a full Bisharod in Robindra Sangeet from Tagore Society.
Okay.
But as years progressed, it became less singing, more music, more instrumentals. So I picked up a lot of instruments. Yeah, I played a lot of instruments. After that, I played the flute, I played the tabla, I played the harmonium, the accordion. I now play the melodica. When I went to US, I had a music group over there, and we used to perform in people's houses, in parties, in big auditoriums, and we used to perform every weekend. And I earned a lot of money in as a graduate student playing music. So I became part of the Pittsburgh Indian community. Then I went to Melbourne in Australia, and I had a music group over there.
You started it there as well?
So we performed,
what kind of music was it? Both Indian and Western?
Okay. No, not Western. After that, Western became more Indian. My style is very Indian, so it became more Indian music. So I had a music group in Melbourne, and then relocating to Mumbai after that in about 15 years ago.
That's when I met you first.
Yes. Yeah. Anindya pulled me into his music group in
playing he had a band as well. Yes, that's correct.
So I did a little bit of that, but it became too far. Mumbai traveling is too far. So going to Powai was like a different country altogether. So I sort of had to ditch that.
Especially with the Mumbai traffic.
Yeah, but I've continued playing my instruments to keep buying new instruments and keep trying. I'm now I bought a new saxophone, but I play horribly. So my family forbids me to open it also at home now.
We will come to that later. We will come to that saxophone part later.
So India. So I think talking about Jamshedpur prepared me for all of this. I think you let's bring it back to the roots.
Yeah. I think the grounding is, the grounding was Jamshedpur. That is where it all took off, So
the other thing I'll just add one more thing, which Jamshedpur taught us. It did not. It allowed people of all levels to perform publicly without any stigma. You didn't have to be perfect. We all performed.
Correct. Absolutely. Yes.
And if you don't perform, you will never be able to demonstrate what you're doing. Demonstration, like the whole concept of showing to the world and preparing and presenting and doing drama and doing all of this was Jamshedpur. It allowed us to be quite free.
Also the stage fright, that you get up on a stage and perform in front of an audience. I think that school taught us so well also, I mean, all the performances that used to happen in Loyola and Sacred Heart was such a wonderful grounding for us going ahead. Once you finished your master's and your PhD, you lived and worked for many years, abroad. So what, made you decide, and what prompted that move back to India? Was it from a, place of giving back to the country, or what was it? What prompted that move?
No, I don't think my motives were that altruistic or very frankly, it was a set of events from the US. I had to leave the US because Amrita needed my wife. She's my batchmate from IIT.
Yes.
She didn't have an H1 visa in the US that time, so we had to
I see.
leave for a small
Okay.
period of time.
Uh-huh.
So we chose to go to Australia, and that small period of time became a fairly lengthy period of time. It became 5.5 years that we lived in Australia. We became
that
citizens of
long.
Australia.
Okay.
I had sort of peaked when I was 34 in the career over there. Australia is a very nice place to peak and plateau out very quickly. So I had to
Yes.
look. I had to look for more challenges. So
Correct.
India was sort of growing at that time,
Opening
and
up
this
and
whole
growing.
India
Yes.
opening up, and I was a telecom guy.
Mhm.
My consulting, my PhD, my masters, everything is telecom. So I came to India and I talked
Which year
to.
was this, Sumit? Which year was this?
Or you will be surprised that 2005, you know, the day of the flood in Mumbai.
Oh gosh.
I was
Yes,
supposed
yes,
to
yes.
be interviewed in India that day from Australia. I was supposed to be here. I didn't come, thank God. But so that year, 2005, 2006, I came down and I met every CEO
Mhm.
of every telecom company, and I knew that there is a demand for what I bring to the table, and therefore
Mhm.
it was just a question of opportunity. There is a demand, there is growth, and there was challenge. So I came down. There was nothing to do with giving back to the country or anything else, but eventually I did do a lot to give back.
Eventually
But
you did, yes.
that wasn't the purpose for coming back. I got a good role. Reliance Communication was just spun off from Mukesh Ambani's empire. Anil Ambani had taken over, and he needed senior executives.
Mhm.
And I became the youngest CIO in the country. I became a CIO at 35. He left me alone. He allowed me to be to develop my own career on my own style
That's
as
very
a leader,
important. Yes, yeah.
as a
You don't
leader in
stand
India.
on someone's space, yes.
And I have a lot of respect for what I got out of that organization. Then I went to IBM. I became the head of the telecom business there, and then I joined Jio after that, and I joined Mukesh Ambani's empire for a period of time. I became the CIO. I became the enterprise head, and I quit before they launched.
So what was your key learning from these roles? And today you are an entrepreneur and a consultant. And what is that one message, or what are the key learnings from these roles that you would like to convey to people who are trying to make it on their own at this point of time?
So I think one of the messages that I would give is that you have to engineer your career yourself. Nobody else is going to do it for you. Regardless of the company that you're in, you need to sort of shape your career. You need to understand the rules that the company plays by, and you need to create your own brand. There's no substitute to hard work, and hard work has to be there. Luck plays a significant role, but only after hard work. The work in each of these companies have taught me new skills. I have managed thousands of people in these companies. But then there's a lot of personal things that come in, and you have to give up all of it when you become an entrepreneur. You have to give up that chair. So you cannot have any ego. You have to let go of all ego. You need to establish yourself as a person who's independent of the role that you were playing in a big company, and restart all over again, and be confident that you will be able to reinvent yourself every time. I always have fun. I don't do anything which is not fun. So even in a job, I found ways to have fun. I found ways to create new things. In every job, I've been an entrepreneur. Actually, I've created new companies in every company that I was there.
Thinking
Every
out
role
of the
that I
box
played.
also? A lot of thinking out of the box.
When I was in KPMG, I created a whole piece of software and a piece of technology, which KPMG made almost hundreds of millions of dollars using that, and almost spun it off into a separate company. What I did at Reliance, I spun it off into a separate company. So it's always been creating something new, and so I realized that I can create something new, and that's what prompted me to become an entrepreneur. That I can create something new. I can find markets for it. I can convince people to buy what I'm creating. I can innovate. So all of these roles taught me to sort of play those roles, play those rules, but play by those rules.
I am going to ask you now about a very important aspect of your life, and that was your foray into writing, because that was really very interesting. You wrote the book Rules of the Game, and if I may take out a line from that book, which I found very interesting, I just read it out. To be truly successful, find those extra 2 hours in the day when you will do things while others will be partying, sleeping, and goofing up. Is this part of your book, these lines?
Yes. Yeah.
It is, yes. So just tell us a little bit about, how you decided to write this book and the journey of, the book and how it unfolded.
So the concept of the book has been with me for a long period of time. I mean, mostly when I came back to India, I had lots of people, young people reporting to me, and they always had a lot of career questions.
Mm-hmm.
What should they be doing with their career? So I started talking to a lot of people as to why and how they were successful.
I see.
And why and how they were not successful, in what they were not successful.
Yes, that's very important.
Because
yeah.
all of us have got enough examples of why when things that we were not successful with.
Correct.
So I started interviewing people, including CEOs of big companies, asking them one question: name the 3 things that you wish you knew when you were 20, that has either helped you or has prevented you from progressing. Sometimes when we are much later in life, we realize, oh shit, I wish I knew this before. I wouldn't have wasted 3 years, 4 years doing something.
Differently, yes.
Yeah.
I
So
wish I'd done
I started.
It differently.
So I asked people to name only 3 things, and I started compiling the lessons that were coming in from these thousands of people. And then I interviewed some 15, 20 CEOs, and I wove this whole messaging through, and my own philosophy. Actually, every book has got the philosophy of the author. So, you read things through your own lens, and what you read in the book is my philosophy, understood from the words of the CEOs that I have spoken to, understood from the thousands of interviews that I have done of people. And essentially, my book is called Rules of the Game.
Yes,
and I think the first line over there saying there are no rules.
Yeah.
Every successful person actually has broken the rules of their domain.
Absolutely, to self-actualize, yes.
Yeah, and you have to create your own rules, and that creation of the rules is what I talk about in the book. How to become a karma yogi. I mean, how do you find yourself doing work? How do you find yourself doing anything? And once you decide that I'm going to find my true self, what makes me tick, what makes me successful, what words I use when I'm successful, what words I use when I'm not successful. Are you watching yourself as your life unfolds? And the book talks about these small things in life that we can do when we are young. So that was my book. But the amazing part of the book was not writing the book, actually. Was what happened afterwards. Somebody told me that to be a bestseller, you need to sell 10,000 books. So I set myself up to sell 10,000 books. And I did in 6 months' time. I started going out and talking to young people in colleges, in companies, and I did it for free. I did it for money. I did it for whatever anybody was willing to do. As long as they paid for my travel, I went there. And I traveled to more than 35, 40 cities. I spoke to more
40 cities?
I spoke to 30,000 people. 30,000 people.
When would you travel? Because you were working, right? 5-6 days a week.
I was still the president in Geo. I used to travel on Saturday, Sunday, and sometimes I took a Friday or a Monday off also along with it. And I traveled to 1 city, 2 cities, 3 cities. Sometimes I did 3 cities over a weekend. each event was for hundreds of people in front. I was talking to young people, and it became such an invigorating experience,
Yes.
And so I think I found myself. I continue
So it
to
has
go
something
and
for all of us. It's not just for the corporates, right?
it's just meant for anybody to read. In fact, my Reader's Digest actually summarized my book. This is the first time they took an Indian author and they summarized the book and they made it a cover story. And I've got a lot of fond memories of that whole exercise working with readers. I mean, you'll say, why Reader's Digest? It's a dead, but still, it's still a magazine with
Yes, it
hundreds of
holds a
thousands of people.
lot of memories.
And
Reader's Digest. Yes, it does. Yeah.
and they took my book and they summarized it, and it was one of the few Indian books that they have done. And so all of it was it became I was in newspapers every other day. I mean, I know you have spoken to Tuhin, and Tuhin is a superstar, and there are many other Jamshedpur writers, superstars, but I have my own journey, and that journey has got nothing to do with
That
the
is what we
superstar.
wanted to know, your journey in writing the book. We all have a different.
It was not to become a superstar, but to touch a life a day, touch a couple of lives a day. I told people when I spoke that I'm taking an hour of your life. I hope you learn something out of it. Otherwise, I wasted an hour of your life. And I hope I don't. I hope so. That was the motivation.
That was so wonderful. We can see there are paintings behind, on the wall, and like I mentioned earlier, that you are a trained musician and a painter. And tell us a little bit about your music journey in Jamshedpur. Did you learn art and music in Jamshedpur?
I did. Music, I told you, I did the full Visharad in Rabindra Sangeet from Tagore Society. I finished up to fifth year, I think it was there. And I did that when I was in class 10, and I finished it in 10th standard. But art, I did up to fourth year. And art, I did not finish my full course. But over the years, I have kept creative arts as part of my portfolio of skills that I have, and I have developed my own style, and that style involves a lot of it's a Bengal school style. I use a lot of kolkas, the little comma shaped thing.
It's a comma, isn't it?
Yeah. And
yes, I can see the painting. There are commas. That's a common thread which runs in your paintings.
Yeah. So I sort of developed an abstract figurative form using commas. Mm-hmm. And I joke about it because full stop by taken was taken by Raza, so I had to go for the comma. So it's, but I have a deep philosophy behind the comma, but we can talk about it later. But I got an opportunity to exhibit my paintings in the US, and not one, but I have done 3 or 4 exhibitions in the US of my paintings. Mm-hmm. In galleries, one of those things you do, you have to have a stamp and you say, I have got an exhibition. So I got an exhibition out of my paintings. I'm not really good. There's a lot of refinement to be done on the paintings, but I've got my style. So that much I'm confident that it's
that
quite
is
unique.
What artists have to develop, their own style. I mean, you can do a lot of imitation art, but finally, you have to develop your style if you want to go ahead. And
my teachers, it will not be good if I don't mention that most of my painting and my style came from my teachers in Tagore Society, and Mr. L.I. Singh. We call him L.I. Singh Kaku, but he was there at my house all the time, and we learned so much from being around him. And there were so many other teachers that helped us become who we are.
So they were all teachers in Jamshedpur. After that, you didn't really have any teachers teaching.
No teachers. It's all self-taught after that. But Jamshedpur sort of created that opportunity.
You said you play a lot of instruments. So what can we hear today? What are you going to play for us?
Oh, you want me to do that in the middle of this interview?
Because I heard the plethora of instruments that you mentioned. Yeah. That was kind of mind-boggling. So what will you play for us today?
So let me go get it for you, and we'll we
Please
can
do
have a
that,
little
yes.
session and we can do a side bar of the music. Yes.
That would
Thank
be
you.
super, yes.
Let me go get it.
Yes. So that was amazing, Sumit.
Thank
And
you.
now one more question before we again, kind of go back to our Jamshedpur, life and Jamshed questions related to Jamshedpur. So is there anything else that remains in your bucket list that you haven't yet explored and want to do?
Oh, there are so many things. I think the world has a lot of things. I've traveled a lot, but travel is something that I will continue doing once this pandemic is over. I've gone to more than 51, 52 countries now, and
You're an avid traveler as well.
yeah,
So is
and
the travelogue on the way sometime in the future?
I don't know. Taking a lot of pictures because artists always take pictures because we see the universe in a slightly crooked
Different
way.
Yeah.
I call it crooked way, but yeah. So I take a lot of pictures, and I see the countries from a very different point of view. I also I see it in very early in the morning. In every place where I go out at 4 or 5 in the morning. I walk around the streets and I see the city waking up to a different way. I mean, every city has a character.
Yeah.
So try to understand that character. So so travel will probably continue, and I am of my many things that I think are still on the bucket list. Books, I have done one.
Yes. Best of luck
book.
for that.
Everybody keeps telling me for the second book that is got to be written, but the inspiration will come when it comes, and
it will come, I'm sure.
It will. There needs to be something meaningful to say, and till that happens.
So I just gave you an idea.
Yeah.
Pick on that idea.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, so what does Jamshedpur mean to you today? What emotions does it evoke in you? And do you go back to the city? Is there anyone there now?
I have gone back quite frequently. In fact, lately, as part of my entrepreneurial journey, I was trying to work with Jamshedpur as a smart city.
Mm-hmm.
So I had gone to talk to the Tata Steel and the Jusco and other folks. A lot of my friends are still there. They work in the various companies that are in Jamshedpur. One thing that I see that has happened Unfortunately, let me also put it that way, is that Jamshedpur seems to be progressing on one side, doing a lot of good things, but it is in a standstill state in so many other ways. The universe has moved ahead. Jamshedpur was an amazing place 20, 30 years ago.
It was, yes.
The universe has moved on. Jamshedpur has remained stable. It's like a frog in a well. And this is my point of view, and I can be wrong. And a lot of people on this forum today will jump on me, pounce on me. But I want them to jump on me, and I want Jamshedpur to improve.
It hasn't it retained the charms of city life, the small city life still.
It has retained the charms of the well. We grew up in that. We grew up in there, and it has got a lot of positives.
It has, yes.
The isolation created opportunities, but then also, if you realize, you and I have left, so does 95% of all children growing up in Jamshedpur leave Jamshedpur. There is no higher education. There is no flight connectivity. There is no, so many things are not there.
Sure. Yes.
Right. So until higher education improves, we are all going to leave. It's a transient city. So that transient nature of Jamshedpur residents creates a set of challenges for Jamshedpur to retain its charm. I think a lot of progress has happened as a city. There's a lot of new facilities there that we didn't have. But growing up in Jamshedpur, I don't know whether you remember the hobby center in Telco.
I remember each and every part of Jamshedpur.
Yeah, and that's an amazing facility that people today call maker labs in the rest of the world. They're talking about smart city. They're talking about, we do maker labs. We have 3D printing. We have this and
we had that. This long back.
We had this 50 years ago.
Yes.
And
there's so many firsts to Jamshedpur, right? Look at the recycled roads that you have there. My child was doing a project here in school, and they took the name of Jamshedpur, and I told her, I belong to that city. I grew up there, and they were so amazed. So obviously there were charms, and there still is. But yes, like you mentioned, things can change for the better. Especially the connectivity. So lastly, let us, go on a really fun, nostalgic trip. And I'm going to ask you some, rapid fire round, but unfortunately there is no gift hamper to give you. So
I can send you a gift hamper after.
You can. We'll trade that later. So it can be a word, it can be a sentence, it can be an emotion, whatever it is. So Tagore Society / Rabindra Shamshad.
That was my foster parents.
Wonderful. Socials of Loyola and Sacred Heart School. This is a tricky one, and I want to hear something.
You said one word, and I didn't go.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair.
So you wanted a secret. You wanted the secret. I didn't go, and you know why I didn't go? Because of the first point that you mentioned. I had my exams, my music exams were there. I still hate my parents, but they insisted that takes priority over meeting girls in...
Wonder. You were a really obedient child. That's all I can say. Okay, so since you're a foodie and a baker, Franks and quality.
Yes, so Frank's was pretty much our once a month trip to come and have food there and go. It was our only, it was probably the only outlet that we would go and have food. I mean, really, there wasn't a sit down.
Did you queue up ever to, get a seat in Frank's?
I don't remember queuing up, but it would be a ritual that we would go out and...
Absolutely, and we used to look forward to it, yes.
Yeah. And quality, same thing. After you have that, you walk over and you get your ice cream. So
I think they made one of the best cakes, no, in quality.
But there's so few things that we could relish and cherish. So we took it up, we lapped it up right there, right? So there were very few options in Jamshedpur that time. So every every one thing created
But we were
nostalgia
also
for
very
us.
happy with whatever little we got,
Yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah,
We made the
absolutely.
most of it.
Absolutely.
The beautiful Ghibli Park. So any anecdotes there, any romantic walks or any memories,
Yeah,
or just
I
walks with
you
parents?
no yeah, picnics. That's about it. No romantic walks
Picnics
for
from
me there.
school or
Yeah,
picnics
picnics
with
from
the
schools or,
family?
or picnics in general, going out, having a sandwich there on the grass, and we used to go as a family. We would go there and sit on the grass and have food. I remember the shotronchi that we used to
Yeah,
have a good meal there. There was no cooking allowed there, so there was
there wasn't,
nobody
yes.
would. So
So it was all
we'll have to only
pre-cooked
pack and
meals that we used to pack and take along
yeah,
and
yeah,
sit
yeah.
there in one of those winter sunlit, days and enjoy the park
My my
ambience.
mother
Yes.
my mother had was a what a horticulturist. We had the best garden in Jelko, one of the best gardens. Uh, she used to take care of her plants, her roses, her fruits, and all of that in the little K3 house that we had.
Mhm.
And so Jubilee Park had a lot of connection to her
Yeah.
her um, uh, her trees and her plants, and buying saplings from there and buying extraordinary roses from there, because there was a nursery on the side. I don't know
Yes, there
whether you know
was.
it or not.
Had one
And
of the best rose gardens, if you remember.
yeah,
So the
so we
last
used to
one is Dimna Lake.
again one of those things that I have no recollection of going there.
Okay, so you don't
So
remember the winding,
uh,
beautiful journey leading up to Dimna Lake. So as a
nope.
punishment, you need to go back to Jamshedpur
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
revisit Dimna Lake with your family.
Will
Yes.
do. Yeah.
So I think that brings us to the end of this wonderful conversation. It was lovely chatting with you, Sumit,
Same here.
and I hope our viewers got an insight into your life as well. And thank you so
I
much for taking out time and joining us at the Jampot Adda.
Absolutely. I had a great time talking to you, and I look forward to connecting with all of you on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on whichever platform that you would like to stay connected. People that I am already connected, they know what I'm doing. I'm fairly public, but others feel free to connect up. And nice talking to all of you. Nice talking to you
Thank
too. So,
you. Thank you
yeah.
once again and all the best. Bye. Good night.
Bye. Take care.
Wow, Shumita, thank you so much for taking us through the by lanes of Jamshedpur. These intricate memories never fade away, however we age. What an experience it has been. Now, let's get up close and personal with a couple who, in more than one way, is very, very close to my heart. One was born in Jamshedpur, and the other whisked her away from Jamshedpur to be married. One was a studious child, a trained singer on a way to become an academician, while the other was strumming away his guitar in GE hostel and winning awards for being not only the best GT but also for his singing skills. By the way, an information for all the ladies now and the girls of yesteryears. He was also the one who started Wheels, the reason for many more heartbreaks, yet again. Now, co-founders of a prestigious organization called Sangeet Foundation, here in the UK, Shutapa Nupur and Jayanta, the husband and wife duo, work relentlessly towards increasing awareness about mental health through music and the arts. So on behalf of Jampot Adda, please join me in extending a very, very warm welcome to Shutapa Nupur and Jayanta.
ये दौलत भी ले लो, ये शोहरत भी ले लो, भले छीन लो मुझसे मेरी जवानी, मगर मुझको लौटा तो बचपन का सावन, वो कागज की कश्ती, वो बारिश का पानी, वो कागज की कश्ती, वो बारिश का पानी, वो कागज की कश्ती, वो बारिश का पानी। मोहल्ले की सब बुढ़िया जिसे बच्चे कहते थे नानी।
वो नानी की बातों में परियों का डेरा, वो चेहरे की झुर्रियों से सदियों का फेरा, भुलाए नहीं भूल सकता है कोई, वो छोटी सी रातें वो लंबी कहानी।
वो छोटी सी रातें वो लंबी कहानी, वो छोटी सी रातें वो लंबी कहानी। कड़ी धूप में अपने घर से निकलना, वो चिड़िया वो बुलबुल वो तितली पकड़ना,
वो गुड़िया की शादी में लड़ना झगड़ना, वो झूलों से गिरना, वो गिर के संभलना, वो पीतल के छल्लों के प्यारे से तोहफे, वो टूटी हुई चूड़ियों की निशानी।
कागज की कश्ती वो बारिश का पानी, वो कागज की कश्ती वो बारिश का पानी।
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, that was such a beautiful number and such a great way to start this program as well.
Thank you.
वो कागज की कश्ती, वो बारिश का पानी. I think it brings back so many memories for all of us Jamshedpurians. What it brings back to me is really, forgetting to take the umbrella to school, and that too deliberately, so that, we could get wet at the rain, jump on the puddles, and of course, making the paper boat just to see who's went furthest. Nupur, my first question is to you. Do these memories actually ring a bell with you, or were you, the good child that all our parents wanted us to be?
Well, I was a quiet child always, but as you talk about the rainy day, what I remember is going to school on a day where it's raining like mad, and I used to take the Tube's school bus. So we would go to school, and then in front of the gate there would be a notice saying rainy day holiday. And that was the best day of our lives, because we could go to school, have our lunch, and then come back without actually having any lessons. So I just remember that. And otherwise, when you speak of Jamshedpur, it is home. So anybody who is connected to Jamshedpur, I just bond with them instantly. Somehow there are so many things in common that we just get chatting immediately without any pretension. So yes, beautiful memories of Jamshedpur always.
Absolutely. I think, there is something about Jamshedpur that just connects people to each other, isn't it? It's just there. I don't know what it is, but something is definitely there. It just makes you feel at home. So coming to Jayanta, your childhood was spent in Patna and you moved to Jamshedpur with work. Now, I am going to take the credit for this, that we, the Jamshedpurians, actually gave you the best gift of your life. And of course, a great girl to be married to. So we allowed that. So you should be eternally grateful to us. What do you think about it?
Absolutely. Always eternally grateful to have her with me. And if you say so, yes, it is the best thing which ever happened to me.
We all say so.
Else with her sitting next to me right now, you see.
But we know you're just moving away right now. You are happy and you're grateful, and that's all we look forward to. And because we gave you, the best gift of your life, I think it's payback time as well. So maybe, and of course, you are also aware that being with Nupur for as long as that we don't ask for much, but a beautiful rendition will do, and we'll be happy if you can just sing a song for us.
Sure. So this is a song. So this is a combination song. One is a song of hope, of resilience, of being together. So the song is Jab Koi Baat Bigad Jaye, and then you will have a follow-up song as well, which Nupur brings from her childhood memories from school days, from the early years. And here it goes. जब कोई बात बिगड़ जाए, जब कोई कोई मुश्किल बढ़ जाए, देना साथ मेरा
जब कोई बात बिगड़ जाए, जब कोई मुश्किल बढ़ जाए, तुम देना साथ मेरा ओ हमनवाज।
कोई है न कोई था जिंदगी में तुम्हारे सिवा, तुम देना साथ मेरा ओ हमनवाज, तुम देना साथ मेरा ओ हमनवाज। वो चांदनी जब तक रात देता है हर कोई साथ, तुम मगर अंधेरों में ना छोड़ना मेरा।
ओ चांदनी जब तक रात देता है हर कोई साथ, तुम मगर अंधेरों में ना छोड़ना मेरा हाथ।
कोई बात बिगड़ जाए, जब कोई मुश्किल बढ़ जाए, तुम देना साथ मेरा ओ हमनवाज, तुम देना साथ मेरा ओ हमनवाज।
If you miss the train I'm on, you will know that I have gone. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Lord, I'm one, Lord, I'm two, Lord, I'm three, Lord, I'm four, Lord, I'm 500 miles away from home, away from home, away from home, away from home, away from home. Lord, I'm 500 miles away from home. If you miss the train I'm on, you will know that I have gone. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles.
That was such a beautiful number. Yes, Jab Koi Baat Bigad Jaye. This was a part of our glee club that anyone from Little Flower would know about. We had a glee club, and this was always a song where we sang in all the languages as well. And of course, the song is about resilience and being there for each other, whatever the situation might be. Do you believe, both of you have been part of Jamshedpur, whether it is Nupur spending her childhood and you spending your early working years, Jamshedpur made us more resilient, or at least taught us to cope with whatever life has to offer?
Absolutely. I think for me, it was a great learning experience. It was actually a switchover experience from being student to a working life in a hostel. And it taught us a lot about depending on each other, with our friends and our colleagues. And yeah, it was fabulous years of my life, those early years in Jamshedpur, Telco Jamshedpur.
Yeah, and again, as I need to remind you that you, of course, met Nupur over this. Nupur, what do you think about it?
Well, Jamshedpur is where I have spent my right from birth, my entire childhood and teenage years. So whatever I've learned and all, everything, my values, my learning, everything is from Jamshedpur, from all the influences I've had there from my school, my teachers. So I think I owe a lot to Jamshedpur because when I left after my plus two, so I was already close to becoming an adult. So my formative years were there. So everything, all the influences are obviously from Jamshedpur. It's taught me friendship. It's taught me resilience. It's everything, I would say. Yeah.
I think that's true. I think we all of us from Jamshedpur owe so much to the place and what it always had to offer. I don't think if we were in a metropolitan or any of the bigger cities, we would ever be the way we have turned out to be today. Maybe I'm wrong, but then again, it's probably a bias that we all have towards Jamshedpur. So if anybody else is listening to me, please forgive me, but it is my, and I guess it's our love for the place that
Yeah.
we belong.
Sorry, another
Absolutely.
thing I wanted to add was
Yes.
that we talk about extended families here staying out far away from home and in a different country. We say friends are our extended family. But for me, at least, extended family was always it from the very beginning because we used to live in these tubes flats and we had our neighbors and they were like our family because I love South Indian food. So this auntie, South Indian auntie, she would actually bring hot steaming idlis early in the morning sometimes. And I would take that for lunch. I would take it to school. My parents often went away on trips and I would actually just stay over at a neighbor's place. So they were like family. So extended family has always been there. It's been a part of my life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Of course, now we are all in the you and me, we are in the UK, and then you both went on to create Sangeet Foundation, which is very close to your heart. And can I just say for the viewers that I'm also a very small part of this beautiful organization. Can you both just give us a snapshot of this journey with this organization?
Well, this all started, with my daughter when she came back one day from university, from Oxford. She was studying there, and she came back and she said she was diagnosed with adult ADHD, clinical anxiety, a little bit of dyspraxia, and we said, what's that? We never, these were all terms to me, terms to us, and we were thinking, what are they even talking about? And we said, first thing was denial, and we said, it doesn't matter to us. It's all a Western concept. It doesn't happen in our house. Then we went through the process of understanding that yes, there's a problem because I could see her suffer. And then we said, so what do we do now? Where do we go? And who do we ask? And what will people say? And we went from that to being in a state where we said, you know what? We have been struggling with it. We are coping with it. And this is something we need to share with the rest of the world to say that this happens, that mental health is a challenge that is there in almost every household. But at the end of the day, it happens and it needs to be talked about because we need to seek help and not suffer in silence. And which is why and the other thing is, my daughter, she started learning drumming and, she benefited from it. And we said, music is a big healer. Well, mental health is a medical problem, but music and the arts, any form of arts, is an alternative therapy. You hear of so many lives being lost because of this. So even if we can save one life, I think we've done the job. And which is why we came up with Sangeet Foundation. And because of that, we met so many beautiful people, people who needed help. And we have been able to connect with them, people who wanted to help out, people who have contributed, in fact, to my daughter's well-being as well. And I thought it was lovely to be able to get into something like this. And I think it was a gift which we took with open hearts.
Absolutely beautiful. Nupur, what did you feel about this journey?
It's been a big eye opener actually. I have been working in schools here since a long time now. And initially, I got introduced to children who had various issues, like to start off with autism and dyslexia, dyspraxia, all of that. So that was just outside the house. I did not think it would impact me personally all this time until my daughter actually, which was quite late, she was at university and then it all came to us. So then I started connecting, and I think it's a big learning, and we are also learning along the way. We are coping and learning, and it's, I think it's a privilege that we are able to help out, because when we talk to other people and they have issues and whatever, I'm not saying that we are experts in this, but we just share our experiences, and that probably is helpful to some others, and I think that is a privilege and a blessing for us. And in the process, we have got introduced to, as Jayanta said, many beautiful people, and Indrani, you are one of them. It's amazing how you are managing to balance all your other responsibilities and giving so much time to Sangeet Foundation. And I quite admire the dedication you have, because I personally find it really challenging to do all the work, housework and schoolwork and everything, and then manage this. But you are doing it, and always with a smiling face. So I really admire that. And obviously now we've got to know Amber as well. So like this, we've connected to people in various parts of the world, most of the time virtually, but that is a big blessing for us, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, it is such a pleasure to be a part of this organization. I think because the reason is there are many organizations, but there are very few you actually connect to. You know, you could give money in some charities and just finish off over there, but then to be connected, I think Amber will say as that as well. And he is, of course, the one who is organizing this for us today and helping us with the editing bit. So I need to acknowledge him as well. But also I need to acknowledge the fact that Nupur, for the first time we heard you singing today, and thank you so much for that. I heard you singing today. And of course, for that, I need to thank Bappa or Anindya Mitra, because he's the one who told me that you're a trained singer. So thank you so much. And of course, thank you to Bappa as well. We certainly look forward to hearing more of you in the near future in Sangeet Foundation programs. Now you can't get out of it, you know me. But as we come to the end of this interview with, the splendid couple that you are, I know Jayanta has told me categorically that there's a special gift by way of a song that he wishes to dedicate to all his students. Just for the ones who don't know, he was a teacher in Gulmohar School, and to all the people in Jamshedpur who know him. So it's off to you, Jayanta. You can take it away.
Thank you. So this song is basically from a serial called Ye Jo Hai Zindagi. I don't know how many of you would remember that, because this was during my college days and probably your early school days, and this is not very oft heard. So we collected, in those days we didn't have internet, and I have not heard the original on the internet also. So we collected the lyrics, and a lot of us do this song. And this is what I call as a English song, a Hindi and English mix. And, like Indrani said, I used to teach in Gulmohar High School. I used to teach computer science. I was assigned from Telco to take classes 9, 10, 11, 12. And one of my students was Akash, Amber's elder brother. And he was one of the star students. And he has been requesting me for quite some time to sing this song, which is why I've selected this song. Akash, here you go. And this is for all the other students who were there and all the other people in Telco Colony who love this song and have requested me to do this song. So here it goes. मेरा दिल का क्वार्टर कर लो ऑक्यूपाई, मत देना प्यारे रेंट सिंगल पाई, मेरा दिल का क्वार्टर कर लो ऑक्यूपाई, मत देना प्यारे रेंट सिंगल पाई। मेरा दिल का क्वार्टर कर लो ऑक्यूपाई, मत देना प्यारे रेंट सिंगल पाई। मेरे दिल में है ऐसा अकोमोडेशन जिसका हर कमरा है एयर कंडीशन। मेरे दिल में है ऐसा अकोमोडेशन जिसका हर कमरा है एयर कंडीशन। तुम लेते आना प्यारे चार पाई, मत देना प्यारे रेंट सिंगल पाई। मेरा दिल का क्वार्टर कर लो ऑक्यूपाई, मत देना प्यारे रेंट सिंगल पाई। मेरे अरमानों के सेज पे आके सोना, सुबह उठकर सनलाइट से मुखड़ा धोना। मेरे अरमानों के सेज पे आके सोना, सुबह उठकर सनलाइट से मुखड़ा धोना। हम करेंगे नैनो से वाटर सप्लाई, मत देना प्यारे रेंट सिंगल पाई। मेरा दिल का क्वार्टर कर लो ऑक्यूपाई, मत देना प्यारे रेंट सिंगल पाई। हम दोनों मिलेंगे तो रोमांस करेंगे, अपने हार्ट के टेलीविजन पे डांस करेंगे। हम दोनों मिलेंगे तो रोमांस करेंगे, अपने हार्ट के टेलीविजन पे डांस करेंगे। तुम डरो न जी, तुम करो न फील शाई, मत देना प्यारे रेंट सिंगल पाई। मेरा दिल का क्वार्टर कर लो ऑक्यूपाई, मत देना प्यारे रेंट सिंगल पाई। मेरा दिल का क्वार्टर कर लो ऑक्यूपाई।
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm sure they're all happy people today. And as I promised when we started the program, there's going to be a lot of music, masti, and I think we have delivered. So thank you so much, Nupur and Jayanta. It always is a pleasure to talk to you both, and of course, especially today because we connect to what we call our first home. So thank you to both of you on behalf of Jampot Adda, and for being with us here today and making it such a special episode for all of us.
Thank you so much for having us.
As promised, we still continue with our program. We are going to have just one more person who is, again, someone very, very close to me, but in a little while. My last guest for the evening is perhaps someone closest to my heart. He is someone I've known since the age of 3, someone who is my buddy, my classmate, my school president, and perhaps our partners. We were partners in crime together as well. It's an extremely proud moment for me to introduce to you Dr. Biju Poulose, who's an MD in psychiatry, practicing in Michigan. Also, the reason Biju is here today is because it is World Mental Health Day. We at Jampot Adda believe that along with the fun and entertainment that we try to provide, it is important to keep in mind that mental health is real and needs to be acknowledged and dealt with. Keeping that in mind, we would like to welcome on board Biju Poulose. Welcome, Biju.
Hi, thanks, Indrani. Thank you, guys. So, wow, I mean, this is unbelievable. So good to see you, Indrani. How long has it been now?
So it has been 25 years now, Biju.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, we are old people, and that's how we need to go ahead, I guess.
Yeah, wow, it's wonderful. I think, when Bappa called me and said, can you do a little bit of a thing for World Mental Health Day? I said, yeah, okay. And then he said, so Indrani will contact you. So I said, oh, wow, now you just put me right on, you know.
It's really like the good old days, Biju.
It's
It
amazing.
was absolutely the icing on the cake to be, to be able to interview or to be able to do this with you. So it's
Wow.
brilliant. Just those happy days back in Jamshedpur. We at Jampot Adda believe that along with the music and Masti, there needs to be a time to deal with social causes and social issues as well. Today being the World Mental Health Day, I think it's only fair that we have you on board. So, Biju, keeping that in mind, how do you think the South Asian diaspora deals with mental health issues?
So I think, since I've worked as a psychiatrist in India as well, then came to the US, one thing is for sure, we are all the same. Like humans there, humans here, we're all the same, and mental illness is kind of similar across the globe. Its presentations may differ, but there is something that is prevalent all over. And like what you correctly mentioned, one thing that is different among our diaspora here in India, the big thing is that we don't think about it much. We don't, give it so much of an importance, and it might be something to look at. Especially nowadays, with the corona and the lockdowns and all the uncertainty going on, there's been a huge spike in the number of cases and problems. So I think, again, because I have served, I worked both in India and here, I do find that, there are advantages and disadvantages of the kind of upbringing and influences we have had. And I think the big thing to understand is that we tend to have a little bit better advantage in able to de-stress from hard situations, difficult situations. And now, why do I talk about stress? Now we all understand psychological stress, but I want to just kind of share this information that the big idea of mental illness is that whenever stress becomes chronic, so chronic stress is what is something that we have to kind of be watchful for, because when stress becomes chronic, then our bodies start to have difficulties. Because we have to understand the body as a very dynamic organ. It's not a static organ. So it's always interacting. It's you do something, there has to be an interaction. There's got to be a reaction. It's like thinking like, you wear very tight shoes for a long time. After some time, you're going to develop a con or something like that because the skin becomes thick. It's to try and counter it. So similarly, when stress becomes chronic, there are changes of hormones within our bodies, and elevated hormones, elevated inflammatory responses, when it becomes elevated for a long time, can lead to depression because, anxiety, where our nerves change. And that's the big idea. So any way we can de-stress, any and every way, like music, like friendships, like acts of kindness, that's exactly the theme this year for World Mental Health Day is kindness. It's very apt, so doing good makes you feel good. Spirituality, religious, family ties, friendships, all these things are things that we can use to de-stress. So guys, it's mental illness is a big gamut, but the whole idea is de-stress. Find time to, stop yourself from churning continuously. So that will help and help us all in a long way, because the mind does matter.
I think it's very right what you just said, Biju, that the thing that we keep churning in our head is what we need to stop. And I also put it down to the fact that we have been brought up in a place where we were always there for each other. We may not have had much, between us, but we always had each other. And that's what helped us to become more resilient, more, aware of the world, and probably more able to face situations. What do you think about that, Biju?
No, absolutely. I mean, I think we tend to appreciate Jamshedpur more when we're outside Jamshedpur, right? Otherwise, it's like, it's like the same routine, routine life. Everything is so structured. Everything is there. And you sometimes yearn for things outside. But when you go outside, you find out that, And I think the big thing about Jamshedpur and all of us growing up, like what you said, we had each other and there was a sense of contentment. And I think that was something you would see in parents as well and everybody around. Matlab, we were like bindas, we were like content, we didn't have any clue what we were doing. Chalo, everything was, put in, you have to do this, next grade. But I think parents also, they were like more relaxed, compared to you and me as parents now. We feel like we're kind of more kind of rung up. Yeah. And I think resilience is definitely something that is lacking and that is not taught. I think that's a new change in the society now. It's all quick, matlab fast food ka zamana hai, drive through ki zamana hai. So and you see that even in treatment, you'll have patients coming in and say, I don't want to feel anxious. I said, Arey bhai, anxiety is normal. I said, if you see a lion and you feel anxious, I can't drug you to make sure that that anxiety goes away. I said, it's not possible. है ना? So to be able to go on with negative or distressing emotions and experiences, that is something very important. I think that is something that Jamshedpur, living in India, like suffering was considered part of life. Of course, there are a lot of negatives also that happen over time, we don't sometimes know exactly how to emote or we may not come forth with our problems and emotions. But I think as far as resilience is concerned, I think, that living in uncertainty, some kind of, suffering, things happening, everything not going as you want it to go, that helps, that builds. And I think there's a lot of research that shows that you want to have kids experience healthy distress. So that helps.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly how you said it, Biju, that Jamshedpur helped us to become more resilient and to help us to cope with everyday situations. And of course, the other thing is that music also helps in, in mental illness, mental awareness, and that is scientifically proven. So today, we cannot let our doctor go without singing a song for us.
Yes.
You're putting me on the spot. I know you told me that yesterday.
In Jampot Adda, we keep on talking about having fun, having masti, and all of that. So today the floor is yours, Biju, because we all know, especially from our batch and the years before, we all know that you have been a brilliant singer in school. You were part of the Glee Club, and so the floor is yours to take away, Biju. All yours.
All right. Okay. So I think given that this is our own Adda. So I think, and Dosti, I'll sing with this little song, Yaro by KK. All right. So I don't have music or karaoke, so I'll just sing.
Okay.
Yaro, Dosti, badi haseen hai. Ye na ho to kya phir bolo ye zindagi hai. Koi to हो राज़दार बेगरज तेरा हो यार कोई तो हो राज़दार यारो मोहब्बत ही तो बंदगी है ये ना हो तो वो क्या फिर बोलो ये जिंदगी है कोई तो दिलबर हो यार जिसको तुझसे हो प्यार कोई तो दिलबर हो यार तेरी हर एक बुराई पे डांटे वो दो गम की हो धूप तो साया बने तेरा वो दो नाचे भी वो तेरी खुशी में अरे यारो दोस्ती बड़ी हसीन है ये ना हो तो क्या फिर बोलो ये जिंदगी है कोई तो हो राज़दार बेगरज तेरा हो यार koi to ho razdan.
Beautiful, Biju. I mean, that was awesome. It's absolutely going back to our good old days in Jamshedpur. Absolutely
Oh yeah,
fabulous.
yeah. This is one of my favorite songs. I just love it. Just very nostalgic.
Thank you so much, Biju. It was such a brilliant time and such a lovely conversation to have with you after so many years. You and all of us, both of us actually belong to Jampot Adda, and it's been such a privilege. Thank you for being with us on this session.
Thank you so much, Indrani, and hats off to you guys. It's awesome. Thanks for doing this. It's like it's always so fresh to connect, and it's exhilarating.
Absolutely, Biju. That is actually the right word. It is exhilarating. And thank you once again for being a part of us today. And to all our viewers, it's been such a pleasure to be with all of you today. On behalf of Jampot Adda, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our friends who were with us today, the people who joined us on the show, Sumit Dutta Chowdhury, Jayanta, Nupur, and of course, Biju Poulose. We will be back again with more such episodes of fun, of musty, of music, maybe some serious issues, but we have a lot of entertainment coming up in the next episodes. Thank you once again on behalf of Jampot Adda for being with us today, and we hope to see you again very soon.